now 30 years, both of you can look back and know exactly how much of an impact this movie has had on all facets of media. What are your thoughts on that?
Video games too. You know, I mean, there was a whole. I mean, there's the kind of first-person shooters and you know, kind of science fiction or push technology, combat games, Halo and everything, all fed a lot from that. You know, but then you know, we also stood on the shoulders of people that went before. I mean, obviously Ridley's film, 7 years before we made ours. A lot of the mood and style and so on, you know, was basically carried on, I would say, even though we were telling a different kind of story. But yeah, you can see the reference points in other films, and that's cool. I mean, I think that's part of how it works. I'm flattered by it. It's not like I want to run around and sue people. I get sued a lot by people who think it's not cool, but you know, I think
the remarkable thing also, as someone who's loved genre my entire life, is that it's one of the first times that the horror genre was really taken seriously, and it was, you know, there were 7 Academy Award nominations, which shot the hell out of us.
Yeah, and for Sigourney's performance as well. And no actress had gotten nominated for Best Actress for a genre picture up until that. I mean, not a science fiction horror.
So to me, that was really the game changer. That all of a sudden, horror was not something, you know, that was just a guilty pleasure, which is wonderful. I mean, but it was considered mainstream, and you know, you could go see it and you could talk about it, and you know, didn't want to, you know, if there were multiplexes, not that there were a lot, you didn't buy a ticket to something else and then sneak in to see the guilty pleasure, and that changed the face of two things. I mean, for better or for worse, all of a sudden sequels, which were not common then, became considered a little more viable. But
a lot more viable, because the rule when we made Aliens, the rule was always, or the phrase was always, that a sequel would cost twice as much and make half as much. So it never really looked like a particularly good business model, and so they were relatively rare. Not these days, everybody always.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gotten out of hand, but you know, and the thing was that, as opposed to formulaic filmmaking, go to an auteur and have the auteur write the script and reinvent the story while staying true to canon.
Yeah, I think there's a tricky balance when you're doing a sequel between making it fresh, surprising the audience, but not surprising them with such a swerve that they feel that it's not honoring the first film. So you've got to play to expectation, and you've got to play against expectation. And I always think it's about answering a question they didn't know to ask, but when they see it, it seems obvious, and that's a tricky space to play in. It's what I'm doing with the Avatar sequels and did with, you know, Terminator 2. But you know, with Aliens, we didn't know. I mean, we didn't know it was going to be a hit. We liked it. We thought it was cool.
Could that happen in the 30 years that obviously the business is so much different now? Could that combination of elements work today, like the talent, the ability?
Yeah. It's still always about getting having great characters on the page and getting great actors to play. They don't have to be great actors; they have to be the right actors. There has to be a perfect, you know, kind of synchronization between the actor and the role, and we had that. We knew that going in with Sigourney, and then we had to go find all the others to step up to her level. I think Sigourney set a bar. You know, I mean, I was in awe of her before I ever met her. I had her picture up on the wall while I was writing the script. You know, and I was terrified when I
It's also important tonally for all of the actors to be in the same movie.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people think, oh, if it's a comic book or if it's a horror film, it should be campy, or it should, you know, it's not real. And I've seen films that otherwise might have been successes, but because the tonality of the acting.
Well, it's like you never break tone with The Walking Dead. I mean, it's deadly serious, and the relationships are super important. You know, and there's the relationships between the people is what creates the relationship between the audience and the work. You know, and that's what happens in Aliens. In fact, I see parallels between Aliens and The Walking Dead, because you actually start to really care about those people and what's going to happen to them and their fate. And once
but you only had 2 hours to do that. I mean, we have 16 hours.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, sure. Much easier. No, that's probably harder to sustain.
Talking about the relationships, though, you have your central relationship with Newt and Sigourney's character, the mother-daughter almost. And then on the other side, you have this perverted mother alien. And
that's right.
Was that something that was...
Absolutely, by design, yeah. I cribbed some from a piece I had been writing called Mother. I cribbed some chunks from that, but it seemed to fit very well because we needed, in the same way that we needed to evolve and ratchet up Sigourney's character, we needed to take the nemesis, the idea of the alien, and we take it to a new level. So it was kind of staring us in the face. There's this ship filled with all these eggs. We laid the eggs. Now, a scene that was removed from Ridley's film showed that there was a closure of the life cycle where the humans were cocooned and became eggs. Well, we just threw that out because it wasn't, and that wasn't, in my mind, that didn't go against canon because it hadn't made it into the release cut. So I thought, well, you've got a mother someplace. So now you got two mothers in opposition, which is, and the piece that I cribbed some of that stuff from is called Mother. Obviously, I never went anywhere with that. I just stuck it all into Alien 2 when I wrote the treatment. Treatment was written really fast, like in a week or 10 days, something like that. Had all the Marine Corps characters and all of the major, stuff in it. I just had to turn it into a script with dialogue.
And that dialogue is snappy. I mean, some awesome classic lines in there.
Yeah, but part of that is that's the actors. It's like you remember. What are we gonna do now? We're all gonna die. It's some pretty shit now.
It's amazing.
Just a question, not in any way disparaging what Fincher did, but your storyline and the maternal storyline and Newt being alive, that was its own thing that didn't continue afterwards. Was there any disappointment in that? The storyline that you had done?
I thought it was a huge slap in the face to the fans. I mean, look, Fincher's a friend of mine, and David is an amazing filmmaker, unquestionably. That was kind of his first big gig, and he was getting vectored around by the studio, and he dropped into the production late, and they had a horrible script, and they were rewriting it on the fly. And it was just a mess. I think it was a big mistake. So I certainly, if had we been involved, we would not have done that because we felt we earned something with the audience for those characters.
Does Neil's script, I mean, obviously he's still working on different iterations of it, but the idea of going back to that kind of core with Hicks and Ripley and such,
I think it works gangbusters. He shared it with me, and I think it's a very strong script, and he could go make it tomorrow. I don't know anything about the production. Seriously, I just don't. You could stick bamboo shoots under my fingernails. I couldn't tell you any more than that. And I know nothing about what Ridley's doing, but hopefully there'll be room for both of them. Maybe in like parallel universes.